as you can hear, this is not my area, not just Jamaica. So knowing people of like minds is super special for me from wherever and everywhere we come from. So I'm going to start by why did I sign up for this course. I'm going to have to say there were real practical reasons initially, because the Indian philosophy was part of my training that I hadn't managed to receive whilst I was in the UK before we fled with COVID. So I made space to a retreat space that I was in the beginning of this year, and then literally the next day someone random I haven't spoken to for ages passed me the flyer for this course. And then that continuation of just openness and just go with the flow, to the point where the night before the course I ended up at Prof's house, so like 11:30 at night or something stupid like that, with my family in tow. Real random, but all beautiful, because we both were just like, all right, let's just step forward with our open hearts, and it's brought us to a beautiful place. And then internally, as many of you know, I do practice yoga. I am a teacher. I'm a teacher in school for normal teaching, and yoga teaching as well out of school. And I just needed a space. I really needed a space for myself. So every week she said, "What do you get from yoga?" You kept saying yourself. I was like, yes. Thank you. That's all I need right now. So that was really, a huge area of why I came, and going through the sutras. I'm really not going to pretend to do any Sanskrit, because that was my other really big problem, why I hadn't been able to tackle this text by myself. I've had this for years. It's in pristine condition before the 11th of February. Now it's all worn and torn. Don't worry. But the translations was real hard. Languages is really tricky for me to just get my head around, just generally. So having that authenticity, not only actually somebody from India who can pronounce, and the depth of your knowledge that spans for translation. Translation's a really big issue for me. I know that so much is lost intently. So just having everything that you came with was so much appreciated. And I can't tell you the 1 point this and the 1 point that, but I can definitely tell you an overview and how I've managed to access it. So we'll come to the 8 limbs. I come in through asana as well. My experience was very personal, because I did want to find my own self back. I'd spent nearly 9 years in and out of pregnancy. Shazzy, who's done that, is pretty grueling. They drool. It's grueling on the body, and I just really needed a space to find me, physically, find my own physical body, it's not taken over by someone else. And that's how my practice with yoga kind of came in. And through that, it's always been that space. And now, I kind of felt a bit guilty that I was only kind of doing asana, because that's where I'd largely stayed. Meditation was tricky, because my mind is very chatty. So yes, again, like you say, Chitta is perfect. Chitta, that perfectly sums it all up, what happens. So I just found it really hard. Let's just know. And then someone would scream, "Mom," when I was trying to get into it. So that was literally my existence. So again, coming out of that space, finding here, it's kind of given me a little bit more ease, because especially the way Patanjali kind of logically sets everything out. We're here, and then we're going to go to here, and why this? Because it goes there, and it's kind of like this whole system. I'm like, oh, there's loads of stages I need to go through. There's a whole proper system and a ladder system. And the fact that I'm here, I want to be up there, that's okay, because I've got this kind of template now, and I feel really grateful for that, because it gave me a lot of ease, just like I say, on a logical level. So I know that I've already been doing it, because when I have my classes, I have weekly classes just with a really easy local space. And now I've been doing the meditation, the calm, the stillness, and I've been doing that at the beginning of sessions, and more pranayama as well, that I haven't done for ages in my classes. Thank you. I thought it was question time. I'm sure that's not what you do. Thank you. So I know that it will come, is what I'm trying to say. Meditation, I take my asana slightly like a moving meditation. I really like to move, and that's really how I kind of, I do flow practice. I do vinyasa flow, and that's, me, myself, and I under the moonlit sky. That's all I need in this world, to be quite frank, and the children. Anyway, so that's where the 8 limbs, that's where I enter in asana. But I know that will change after this course. I know it's already changing. And specifically about the yama and the niyamas, again, these spaces, I wanted to know more about these areas. I get the asana. I did a lot of deep diving into Hindu philosophy and stories, and which also I'm very happy to know that there's a nice distinction between the two. I know that there's been a little bit of mirroring and things for people, but for me personally, religion is problematic, spirituality is kind of where I'd like to hang my hat. And sometimes we've had discussions where it's like, well, that belongs to that thought, that belongs to that religion, we're doing the sutras. And I was like, okay, these barriers, and like, you know, nicely so, was very helpful for me, because there's a lot of conflation basically, and you don't always know where you are with it all. So returning to the yamas and niyamas, you know, the first step being about your social self, which I really, similar to Chevenet, with, you know, that moment where you start to focus your energy on, and non-violence was actually my first one as well, because I got a bit of a mouth from time to time. And I was like, and you know, not necessarily even what comes out the mouth, it was what Prof was saying about the mind first. So if I wanted to say something maybe not so pleasant, then it was like, just wish nice things, just speak nice, you know, and that kind of happened I was talking to myself, obviously, when I say that, and then eventually the mouth kind of followed suit in it, and things weren't as loud, which my household is very happy for, so thank you very much. So all of that, you know, truthfulness, and although it's like social self, I really looked at them more within myself. Like, you know, we have violent speak within our own minds towards ourselves, it's not just other people. Being truthful to ourselves, you know, as my dear friend Stuart here said, you know, the course really illuminated, like, no, I haven't been telling truths all the time. Like, I'm saying I'm a yoga teacher, but am I doing these things? Am I you know, walking my talk all the time? And I'll have to say no if I'm being truthful with myself, and being able to say that, and then it's like, okay, I've released that, now let's move on with what I've learned. So, you know, like I said, the yamas have been quite inner, although they're meant to be a bit more social. And definitely non-greed was a really big one for me. I have a real personal thing about greed, but I carry it, so that's why I have a personal thing about it. So it's just like all of these type of revelations I got to see. And then moving on to the niyamas, just looking at self a bit more, purity and contentment was my main one. You know, like, it's been a really crazy past 3 years, I'm not gonna lie, moving country with lots of people in tow, and there's always something to moan about transitioning from like London living to country living, where I have water tanks and fun stuff. And I just moaned a lot for the first 2 years, I think, of being here, and I've stopped doing that. So again, thank you for that. I'm trying to just, you know, be with content and be with, this is how it's meant to be. Thank you. Powers. I thought I never had any, but actually listening to you all, I've got a few. I have got, you know, there's intuition, but I think the main one with the powers, what I've experienced, is surrender. Whenever I surrender, that's when things line up. That's when that you get let out. That's when the train doors just, you know, here, and it's a busy platform. So, you know, I'm really trying to lean into the idea of surrender a lot more in my life, and hopefully it will lead to goodness. Surprises along the course, I'm skipping a few now. The main thing, you know, the standout bits that has been echoed is the continuous dedication to practice. And when you think of discipline, I always think of something quite not very nice, but actually I've started to think about discipline as a form of self-love, and it's like actually making sure that I do these things. You know, I do a lot for other people and not necessarily put that mirror back on myself. So I'm like, okay, actually, you know, it's not being disciplined, it's actually just being cared and, you know, looking after oneself, and that will spur on my practice. I now wake up and just spend like 5 minutes just taking some stretches, just putting water on my face and splashing my face, and acknowledging that the raindrops have come from the sky and they've traveled all this way, and they're now in my hands and they can now refresh me. That's literally what I do every morning now to just make it happen. Thank you. I really appreciate the knowledge system explanation that you gave us. Like, that's my nerd self coming out. The fact there's no ownership just is like the best news ever to me. The fact that practice comes, because that's a real problem in Western thought as far as I'm concerned. Benefits, calm, community, huge expansion personally, maybe professionally, who knows, like, but definitely like my own self. And I really love to continue the connection with everybody moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.